Hey, what's going on, guys? So, the June 17 experimental update just landed. The first thing that stands out is the melee damage change. Crafted melee weapons and blunt melee weapons both hit harder now, and on top of that, melee damage carries over better against infected and animals. That is a pretty big deal because early game DayZ can be rough when you are stuck with whatever you can throw together. A stick, a bat, a pipe, anything like that should feel a lot more useful now. If you are the kind of player who likes to get by with whatever you can craft on the spot, this is one of those changes that immediately affects how you play minute to minute. Fighting infected should also feel a little less messy because you are not going to be whiffing around forever just to finish one off. There are also some changes on Xbox that are clearly aimed at making the console side cleaner and less confusing. There is now a dedicated Xbox Series build, which should help with performance and handling on that hardware. There's also a warning now if you try to join a controller-only server while using mouse and keyboard. That is one of those quality of life things that just makes sense because it stops people from ending up in the wrong place by mistake. They also removed the account switch option in game, took out the choose account button from the main menu, and disabled the introduction video. So the whole startup flow is a bit more direct now, less clutter, less clicking around, less getting stuck in menus before you even get into the game. Inventory got a decent amount of cleanup too, and this is the kind of stuff that matters more than people admit. The vicinity cargo section now changes size depending on how many visible items are nearby, which should make it feel less awkward and more responsive. On top of that, there were fixes for dragging and dropping items into the vicinity area, items disappearing when swapping between equipment and inventory, and items dropping from containers after reconnecting. That reconnect issue in particular is the sort of thing that can ruin a session if it happens at the wrong time. So seeing that addressed is good news. They also fixed the problem where customized characters were not being saved after a restart, which is one of those bugs that sounds minor until you realize it can waste a lot of time and effort. A big cluster of fixes is tied to animation and interaction behavior. Taking items from shoulders and belts was broken in multiplayer in a few different ways, and there was also a glitch in that same general animation set. Items can now be dropped during sprint, which sounds simple, but in actual play, that is one of those little movement rules that can be frustrating when it does not work. They also fixed the issue where very wide items would not scale properly when inspected, and the heat buffer indicator was not updating correctly when the HUD was off. Those are small details on the surface, but they add up when you're trying to keep track of your gear and condition in the middle of a run. There are a couple of survival fixes that stand out too. Chelating tablets can no longer cure wound infection and influenza, which closes off a weird medical loophole. Torches no longer dry clothes faster than fireplaces, which is one of those odd interactions that probably should not have been happening in the first place. And the leg pain indicators were not showing properly before, so that has been corrected as well. That kind of thing matters because DayZ is a game where status feedback is half the battle. If the game is giving you bad information, the whole loop gets messy fast. Vehicles got a lot of attention in this update too, and that is always welcome because vehicles in DayZ have a reputation for being unpredictable. They fixed missing attach and detach sounds for batteries, spark plugs, and radiators, which sounds tiny, but those audio cues help make vehicle maintenance feel more complete. More importantly, they address some serious desync problems, including moving vehicles being badly out of sync for players not inside them. They also fixed the bug where players could get teleported when exiting vehicles, which is the kind of thing nobody wants to see happen after a long drive. There was also a boat-related issue where players were still flagged as swimming when climbing into a boat, and another where clothing could not be wrung out in that situation. So even the water side of things got some attention. Combat audio and weapon behavior got cleaned up too. Indoor shots were being muted when the camera was close to the weapon, and in another case, indoor shots could sound silenced to the shooter. That is the kind of audio bug that can really mess with how a gunfight feels, so it is good to see it fixed. Zeroing was also not working properly for certain scopes and optics in optics mode, and that is one of those issues that can quietly throw off your aim without you realizing exactly why. If you rely on optics a lot, that correction matters. There were also map and environment fixes, including bad loot spawn placements in the airfield bunkers and a non-functional ladder at the Rify shipwreck. Those are the kinds of things that players will notice because they hit specific spots over and over, so it is nice when those problem areas finally get cleaned up. They even fixed rain falling the wrong direction when you run with it, which is one of those weird visual bugs that probably looked hilarious while it lasted, but still needed to go. And for the known issues, there are still a few things hanging around. Some loading and menu screens are too bright, stamina can fail to update after dropping an item, reloading the Derringer by holding R is still not working, and some herbivores are missing their roaring audio. So it is not totally spotless yet, but this update does a good job of tightening up a lot of the rough edges while also giving melee combat a real boost.